Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Lauren and today we're going to be talking about I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Reid. 10 out of 10. Can I just say, like, you guys know me. I read a lot of thriller, a lot of suspense, a lot of dark books. I mean, literally look at my bookshelf, like this whole shelf is devoted to dark books. But this one, I had such a good experience with this book and like I have not read a good thriller like this in such a long time. It feels like it's been ages since I've read something that was just like this gripping. And so I wanted to talk about it today. First of all, I gave this book 5 stars. That's my review. In this video, I'm gonna kind of give you guys a quick synopsis about what this book is about without spoiling anything. And then we're gonna get into the spoiler part where I'm gonna talk about my feelings about this book. If you've read it, you can follow along with me. Leave in the comments what your like reactions were and your thoughts on this book were, because I would love to hear it. But yeah, so we're gonna kind of go through it all together. And yeah, if you haven't read the book, you can stay too, but I would really suggest that you read it first. I don't know. But yeah, so let's get started. First of all, like I said, I gave this book 5 stars, but I think on Goodreads it has an average of like 3.6, which honestly surprises me because I think this book really does deserve more than 3 stars. I don't know, that's just my opinion. I think it's written really, really well, and for a thriller, the plot points and like twists at the end and just the whole thing doesn't feel super cookie cutter to me. And I think that's something that I kind of stumble upon, unfortunately, a lot in thriller books, is that the plot can be kind of expected from a thriller. You know, you kind of expect a twist and you expect that something's gonna happen. And this whole time I was reading this, I was expecting something to happen, but what happened was not what I expected. And I think that's really what I gather from this book, and that's why I gave it 5 stars, is because compared to other books, I think this one really does a better job of like surprising you and making you scared. That was the other thing. I have never read a book and not been able to go to sleep, but I started reading this on like a Thursday night, and Thursday night I could not go to sleep without like having my LED lights on. Like, I have never read a book that made me scared to go to sleep at night, and this one actually did make me scared. So that's my comment. That's never happened to me before. It makes you scared, but not in like a, like, nothing in this book is physically scary. Well, is it physically scary? I don't know if that's the right word, but nothing is like specifically scary. It's just the scariness of not knowing enough, I would say. Like, you're scared, but you don't know why you're scared because nothing is like intrinsically happening. I also don't know if that's the right word. Because nothing is like specifically happening that's like super scary, but it's like the feeling is scary and the fear of the unknown is scary and the atmosphere is scary. Kind of creates this atmosphere where you really just like are anticipating a lot happening and you don't know what's gonna happen and you don't want to know what happens, but you're like figuring it out along the way. Also, this book is super short, which has so many pros. I love a good short book. Like, as an engineering student, I don't have time for big books, you know, like we love a good short book. And also, as a suspense like thriller book, short books give you like no room to breathe, like things just keep happening. A little bit about the plot without spoiling it. This couple is going on a road trip to his family's farm to meet them. I think they've been together for like a couple of months and she's going to meet his parents. She's kind of thinking, she's like, I'm thinking of ending things, whether it would be better to be alone or if the relationship is better. You know, a very normal thought to have. Like, as soon as you like join this relationship with someone else, suddenly their schedule is your schedule. Suddenly what they're doing is something that you're focusing on. And it's a really good like discussion on that, but that's not what it's about. So I'm not gonna like keep going down that road because it's not about the relationship at all. Literally all I'm gonna say, because if I said anything else, it would be a spoiler. So like, that's how quick this book changes. And I really liked it. It reminded me a lot of like Get Out or The Visit or even Gone Girl. I think just the way that it's so psychological in that way. That's all I can say without really spoiling it. If you haven't read this book, go ahead and click off. If you don't want to be spoiled, I will welcome you back later. But for those of you who have read it, let's discuss. First of all, this book has a movie, which I did not know was on Netflix, but apparently it is. I mean, I'm literally stupid. There's a sticker on the book. There's a movie. I haven't watched it. I'm probably gonna watch it at some point, but I just am running out of time to do things before I go back to school. But I've heard that the movie is actually kind of different than how this book ends, which kind of makes me sad because I'm like, why would you make a book to movie adaptation but then like change how he kills himself and stuff like that? So this whole time, you know, the first page, she's like, I'm thinking of ending things. And I'm like, okay, girl, go ahead, end things. Like, I can see how you could be thinking of ending the relationship. She also goes on and on and on about why and like how she doesn't think it's for her and whatever. But then the whole time in the back of my head, I was like, you know what? Like, this is a dark book, you know? She's probably not thinking exactly what she's thinking, you know? Sometimes a thought can have double meaning. And the sentence, I'm thinking of ending things, obviously in the situation that was being discussed was the relationship, but I was like, you could be thinking of ending like your career, your life, your like, there's so many things that, can be tied to this sentence. So I definitely didn't think that she was talking about the relationship when she said, I'm thinking of ending things. What I didn't expect was her to not even exist and for the only character in this book to be Jake. Did not expect that at all. I honestly was also confused at the end when they do that kind of reveal that it's just him and his thoughts, and like he's the janitor and he's Jake and he's also the girlfriend. Like that whole part was super confusing to me. I'm sure it was to a lot of other people because like it's just hard to understand, especially the way that they word it in the ending. Like it gets really kind of difficult to understand what's happening. And I definitely think for the plot point to be that Jake is the only person in the story and like everything that we've gone through has been kind of like a distortion of what he has wanted and what he's kind of envisioned, and then like his own thought process, like for that to be the plot, I really liked that. But also I think it kind of is sketchy in a way, which might be why people give it less than 5 stars, in that it kind of paints like mental illness to be this kind of like end all be all answer, if that makes sense. Like it kind of relies too much on the mental illness. I don't know if that makes sense, but like obviously some thrillers and suspense books have, a really good aspect of mental health and like how that can kind of influence someone's decisions or how they feel about life or whatever, which I do think is valid. But in this sense, it can kind of be a little bit kind of a crutch for the plot to happen, which is fine, but also like maybe not fine. I don't know how I feel about that. Leave in the comments if you think that like it being about the mental illness is like too much for the whole book, but like I don't know, I thought it was interesting, but I also thought it could be kind of problematic in some ways. But yeah, like I said, I also had trouble sleeping and I could physically like envision the atmosphere that was happening and the things that were happening. For example, the collar, I wanted to drop dead reading about that. Like I don't know what it was. I think first of all, just being a woman in society, to me, like literally everything is creepy, and I couldn't imagine like someone calling me from my own phone number and like saying these weird things and like kind of obviously stalking me. Like I would literally die. Like I don't know, it's just such a crippling feeling to feel like you have no control in that situation, which I think added that level of scariness. And also the dream that she had, was it a dream or did she wake up and see it? She was in her bed and like there was a guy standing outside of her window, like just his shadow, like you couldn't see his face or anything, and he was just standing there. And the thought of like, can he see me? Is he looking at me? Is he even like there? Like that whole vision to me, I was like, I gotta go. And then also just like, I don't know, the farmhouse and the parents was so weird. The fucking painting basement was so weird. Her using the bathroom and then her shoes were like pointed the wrong way when she came out was weird. The Dairy Queen in the middle of nowhere was weird. The excessive like snow and just parking lot of that school, and then going into the school and the school being after hours, and just janitor like keys clinking around, like just so many atmospheric environmental pieces that made this book as thrilling as it was, and that's what I give props to. But I hated the last couple of scenes because it's like you're anticipating someone to die, and this whole time you get kind of like an in-between like cut from the main story to hear these like random people talking about what happened. So that something like happens, like for example on page like 111, it's like, do we know the official cause of death? Bled out from puncture wounds. Awful. Bled for hours, we think. Quite a bit of blood. It must have been terrible to stumble across. Yes, I imagine it was. Horrible. Something you'd never forget. Like, we just get kind of these, like, little tiny insights about the future as you're reading this. And so you know what's gonna happen, you know how, you know where, but you're like, you still don't know why, and you're literally anticipating for that to happen the whole time, and then it just happens and you're like, oh my god. Like, it's still shocking, even though they've been telling you the whole time that it's gonna happen. Like, that's just why I liked it so much. Did I expect him to kill himself? Not really. Honestly, to be honest, this whole book, because I thought that there were two characters, like the two people in the relationship, I thought that like one of them was gonna kill each other. Like I was like, oh, she's thinking of ending things. Maybe she's gonna kill Jake. Or maybe Jake is gonna kill her. Like, I don't know. It was very confusing to me in that way. But then when it came out that he killed himself, I was like, okay, that makes sense, because like it's been about Jake this whole time. It was kind of anticlimactic at the same time. It's just when you read a book with so many characters the whole time and then you find out that none of them actually existed and it was just him the whole time, it does spark that like curiosity of like, okay, wait, what have I been missing this whole time? Let me go back and read it again. Like, it does spark that emotion. But then it's also kind of disappointing in the same sense because you're like, oh, this is a lot simpler. Well, not simple, because mental illness is not simple, but like it's a lot less convoluted than what it felt like. And so it's a little bit less scary when you get to the end. And for that reason, I found that like the beginning and middle was almost more exciting than the ending to me, but that's just like how I interpreted it. So I don't really know. Regardless of all of that, like this book still left me in shambles after reading it. I would definitely read it again, even though I already know what happens, and I definitely want to watch the movie, but I just don't necessarily even know how to explain what happened. Like, it's one of those books where it's so like up here that like you understand it and like you know what's been happening this whole time, but you can't like put into words like how that connects to everything. If you haven't read it for some reason, I would still recommend it. I think the plot is great. I think it's a great size, and for the size, it doesn't feel like you're wasting your time. Like, I definitely think it's worth the time that you would spend reading it. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this book. One of the quotes that I loved from it was, "Sometimes a thought is closer to the truth, to reality, than an action. You can say anything, you can do anything, but you can't fake a thought." 10 out of 10 quote from Jake. If you guys are looking for a good thriller, suspense novel, fast-paced, like, I would highly recommend it. Please leave in the comments if you've read this book before, because I'm so curious to see what you guys think about it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye.